And as you can see, we increased the harvest in Mongolia. We are going back into Inner Mongolia now, negotiating hopefully to increase the harvest. And in this area, there's a huge area of what we call heavy soil, which is salt and what we call calc. And this is a major work for us. We managed to increase the harvest here. And on the back of this year now we're going to massive production of materials for agriculture in China. And the Keshe Foundation team today announced, or 2 days ago announced, that they can produce and deliver to the farmers in 20-liter drum Ganses for agriculture for just about around 100 RMB, which is around about 12 euro. And this will allow the farmers to increase their products, and they will go very fast with the productivity, and we'll see an increase in harvest. Next. This shows again the increase in the harvest to farms. We increased the wheat by 300%. Sorry, the wheat we increased from 49 to 132, and the rice we increased from 75 to 249. And it is very interesting that the technology now is to be adopted by the government in a large way for agriculture. Next page, please. Have you fell out, Manglin?
Yeah, I fell out. Yeah, I'm back.
You fell out, okay. I'm just going through the thing. This says in the Mongolia.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. What happened when we increased the harvest so drastically? There was a big concern by the Chinese government and authorities that we have modified the genes. And the first thing which was done, it says no GMO change, which means it says at the bottom, it says foreign genes, CAMB353, no detected, which means there was no gene variation, foreign genes not detected, foreign gene BR not detected, and then indigenous gene, plant gene detected, which means we actually took the seed back to its origin, which was shocking to the Chinese agricultural committee and groups. And which means we take the seeds back to their origin. And these are, as you can see, endorsed by the laboratory, independent test laboratories. And we showed rapid growth in 27 days, tripling the harvest was a natural process of what we call Gans production by transferring energy to the seed directly. Next page, please. This is, you see, the one on the left and the one on the right. This is on the same side of the test area. You can see it is damaged. It has fungus and all sorts, and that's why the harvest is so different. Next one, please. Again, now this is the same test for different products. 4 different products were tested in that year. And on the back of this test of 600 square meter last year, millions of square meters went under trial, several million. And the results of it is amazing how the harvest has been increased. And this year we'll go maybe to quite a large amount of land harvesting in the coming weeks. Next one, please. This is another 27-day difference. You see the growth of the harvest in 27 days. The one on the right is natural, 100 meter down. This one is 27 days watered with Gans. Gans water. Next, please. You've seen most of these the same. You see increasing harvest pellets. These are used for alcohol and other purposes of food purposes in China. Next, please. You can see the difference. With this technology, the Chinese government will walk out of food dependency to United States. Next, please. Next. These are all alcoholic things. The report tells you very clearly, can you go back into the Chinese, right? The report shows clearly massive increases and average on the rice and wheat. And when we change the composition of the Gans, we play totally different game. And you can see up to 212% increase in rice. China needs only 40% increase in rice to become self-sufficient for rice. And over 40% when you go to 220, China become a major rice supplier around the world, replacing American, what we call rice production. Next, please. This is again a very interesting point. What you see in the background, if I can get it, I have to reduce. What you see here and here in number one, it usually takes, and this is number two, the seeds have been placed at the same time into the pots. One has been treated with a Gans and number one has not. Number two has been treated. For number one to get to the position of number two, it takes average 21 days. So when you plant the seed, this is known as a tiger nut. This is to place the oil for China. China imports 70% of its oil from outside. And with this, what we call tiger nuts, they're hoping to cover part of that market. At least they don't need to import. So we tested this 2 years ago. Number one, to get to the position of number two, it takes between 21 to 25 days. And then if you look, I cannot. Okay, to get from 2 to 3, that is the first time you see the split in what we call in the seed, because under the ground, every shoot you see, it becomes one seed, it becomes one nut. It's like a hazelnut. So the more it divides, the more harvest you have. So to go from number one to number three to split takes about 35 days. Using the Gans to go from number one to number two, don't forget, for one to get to number two, average 21 to 25 days. Number two has been achieved in 6 days. To go from 2 to 3, after 25 days needs 10 days. So about 35 days. To go from 2 to 3 has taken 4 days. So in 10 days, we've done what the plant would have done in 30 days. This, increasing the harvest by up to 4 times, will walk China out of need for cooking oil import. This is now under observation. There's a huge, 50,000 more. Each one is about 660 square meters. Is now, we've been told, under trial this year. Next, please. Each product needs its own, what we call mixture. You cannot use the same mixture for the same harvest. And the same, this is the corn, has shown a massive difference. And it's very unusual to see certain type of growth in corn. This is done by the knowledge seekers in one, and the harvest is huge. Big difference. And it's the same again. Corn has different application in China. Next, please. You can see the difference between the two corn. It's huge, heavier, solid, harvest comes in 2 or 3 weeks earlier, which allows in 2 seasons. In this area, this harvest in three seasons. So it allows you one more harvest inside for the farmer. Next, please. You can see the difference. Very simple. The same harvest from the same thing is on about 20–30% increase from the same plants next to each other on the same ground. You can see 711 and 900, 20%, 25% increase in harvest. Next, please. Next. Again, they wanted to know genetic, and the genetic never happened. Next. This is another trial by the Keshe Foundation in a massive structure. This is a 1 million square meter last year rice trial. And it has shown massive, what the Chinese discovered, that the side they used the Gans, they did not need to use any pesticide or herbicide. And the harvest has increased by 207%, if I'm correct. Can you go to the next page? The harvest comes about the same time, but the funny part was, you can see the difference, that we saw a hurricane destroying half of the rice land. And then we found out they played a game with the rice, which they did not tell us. And what the game they played, they mixed ganses in different ratios or different rices with Gans and without Gans. And then we found out doing this, they created a hurricane over the fields. These are magnetic fields they couldn't understand. When we told them, they realized because there was no hurricane, in a way there was a hurricane, but more or less no farm was damaged. But this farm, in certain point, where they mixed the different mixture of gases with Gans, without the gas, they thought it's like a water. It's just where they put the water and you don't put the water, and they created a huge airflow and actually damaged the harvest. But still, it shows more harvest than the good side. So we would have expected a much bigger harvest without the hurricane, which they created themselves. We're seeing this one in Caribbeans. So it gives us a lot of insight in how farming in the future will be. Next, please. You can see there's a huge root growth difference, structural difference. Next. You can see it's one side Keshe Foundation, one side without the Keshe Foundation Gans production. And one land, in literally a farming company with 1,000 mole, and you're talking around about 1,500 per ton, is a huge difference profit. Next, please. You can see the one on the left and the one on the right. The one on the left has already started flowering. The other one is still green. It's ahead by about 20 days. Next. It's important because this trial was done in north. You see the hurricane, which is a typhoon, they call it, which came in. It's important that you see how they mixed it. They mixed the rice. Go back in, please, with the numbers, with the Chinese numbers. This is how they mix gases with different things. And we have seen the problem they created, creating a hurricane over the land. And it's very, very interesting. And it told us a lot, and we learned a lot from it. But with all the things gone, the harvest has increased by 207%. Next, please. Next, these are detailed studying of which rice and how they brought it, and it's said by the government. What it says in the Chinese at the bottom is that this is what they have a problem here in the north. It's always wet, cold, and rice gets fungus. And they have to use a lot of pesticide. They have to use a lot of chemicals. And it says, because it says in Chinese at the bottom, that the plants show to become resistant to any kind of funguses or need of pesticide or herbicide. This is what we didn't know. And the government research lab has put there because they didn't use any pesticide or herbicide. And it says it makes it resistant. And in the north, in the wet area, it's very important. That's saving. When you don't spend money on the chemicals, you save money. Next, please. You can see again how the Keshe Foundation materials are used. And now you see a lot of it. A lot of knowledge seekers, farmers use this. If you notice, you see little bottles hanging over the sticks on the right and on the left. When we sit on the trains traveling, when we see bottles hanging over the farms this way, we say, oh, there is another knowledge seekers farmer. Because they know they fill the bottles with the Gans and they put the Gans water in the field, increases the harvest. And it was funny, the first time I saw it, it was very strange, but now we got used to it. We see quite a few of them. And all the knowledge seekers in China, which is a huge number of them, they just use it. And whenever you travel, look at the bottles, then you know you have a knowledge seeker. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. These are local farmers. Carry on. Next. They measure it, how fast it grows. Next, please. Next. It's a big 10 centimeters, something in that region difference. You see the two coming in for harvest. Yellow is the flowers coming in. Next, please. You see both sides, the left side, the right side, is already going for full flower. And the other side is just coming to flower. Next. The farmer on this side has already harvested. Next. Go back, please. Go back one picture. You see the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers that are proud. They leave KF SSI sign that they're using the Gans. And it has shocked a lot of local authorities. This increases harvest by 25%. You see 13 bags or 50% increase is a lot of money when you sell for at least hundreds of yen, and that changes your position. Next, please. Don't forget poverty line in China is 3,000 RMB, 3,500 RMB. You see, this is the same again with what we call the material which is used and not used. And you can see how the beans have grown. The one on the left is a small one. The one on the right is a bigger one. Next, please. You see the change. 10 stems were always tested. Next. One produces 194 from the 10 stems. One produces 441, over 100% increase. And you can see the shape of it, the size of them. Next, please. You can see the harvest growth and the size. And this shows, but what is interesting, the one on the right is getting black. They're picked on the same day. And the one on the left is still green. What actually caused the problem for this farmer, his beans were so good that the neighbors stole half of it. He came one day to his farm and half of it was not there. He went and he harvested. He says, I'm not going to let them have it, the rest of it. And they say it tastes so good. But this is economically important because the farmer has longer time shelf life to sell his goods. Next, you can see the difference again is huge after drying and looking after it. Next. We are involved in ginseng. Ginseng, 70% of the world ginseng is made in China. It's a huge industry, and 80% of it in this area. We got involved with this last year, and there are some interesting results that they don't want to tell us. We receive little information from them. It's a very vicious market, and farmers don't want anybody else to know what they are doing. And you see again the bottles in between ginseng. In 30 days has changed the harvest. And these are scientific research centers. The lady on the left is a leading ginseng scientist from the Ginseng Agricultural Center government organization. She's amazing in what and how they do this. It takes 5 years to harvest. If it's controlled, it takes 15 years in the wild. With this process, we can reduce it by maybe a year and a half, but at the same time, it gives a profitability. It's a very difficult things to grow. You have to dig it out, replant it, and then dig it out, and some dies of funguses. And we are involved with this in China. Next, please. You can see the same process. Carry on. This is a wild ginseng. Next. This is a very interesting last year, about the same time. If you look at the date down, it says 19th of March, exactly a year ago, more or less. We had a call that the plant has got pests, as you can see it. The farm literally dies, they eat everything up. And you see it on the 20th, we applied the Gans material. Can we have the next one, please? And this is 1 day later on 21st, without any pesticide. If you know how to mix the gases, the water, you can overcome, you don't need any, it costs more or less zero. Next. Now you understand why Chinese love this technology. They're growing everything with it. We've seen that with Iran. Iranian scientists are doing a lot with it. Next. It says, Keshe Foundation, China, the place where science meets the soul of the man.